So I want to talk to you guys about SHTF comms. And that is such a wide and vast topic to discuss in such a short little video. But what I want to discuss, and most importantly, I think what I want to do is talk to the people that think that they're going to somehow become radio operators and no communication skills when shit hits the fan. That's just not reality. And the reason I say it's not reality, and I don't care if it's just grabbing a couple Baofangs for you and your crew, or a full-on HF system, or any sort of radio capabilities, anything at all. If you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to be successful. So a lot of people think they're just going to grab a radio like this. This is a Yaesu FT65, fabulous, amazing radio. one of the best radios I think that's out there on the market right now. And it's not even $100. But do you know how to use it? Do you know the capabilities of it? Do you know do you even know what a repeater is? Do you know what simplex is? Do you know what that button does? You know what that button does? Do you know what a long press does here? Do you know what all the P1, P2, P3, P4 is? Those are programmable buttons. I mean, this Wouxun radio that I just did a 6 or 7 part series on this stinking radio, this one here, the orange one. There's so much to this radio, you literally will not know what the hell you're doing if you just think that when in that moment, I don't care what moment it is, when you need comms, you're not just going to pick this up and be proficient with it. So, for example, I was watching this video the other day, and it was on a big YouTuber's channel, survival channel and stuff. And, you know, I don't really get into a lot of stuff like that, but I just happened to be looking around and I saw something that caught my eye, so I clicked on it, and it said SHTF comms, or like Civil War or comms or something like that. And so I clicked on it, and so basically what he was saying, and I've heard this a lot, and even from my own some family members have told me this too, that they are not going to be worried about stuff like that, SHTF. They will just grab it and go. Or say, like I even had a family member say, well, I'm just going to go take a prepper stuff. And I was like, you know how stupid that sounds? You don't think the prepper's ready for people coming for his stuff? First of all, if he's a true prepper, you're not going to know he's got stuff. You don't talk about your preps. That's just reality. You keep it quiet and to yourself, and those kind of things. But so this guy was saying, he was holding a radio like this, ham radio. I think it might have been a Baofeng, I don't know. But he was like, I'm not going to worry about getting my license. I'm just going to use it when the time comes. Like, no license, don't worry about getting a license. And I'm just shaking my head like, what the heck are you talking about? How is that a thing? How does that even make sense to you? That, yeah, excuse me, my goodness. So how is that going to work for you? And what I want to say to people is turn it around, especially the run and gun guys always out there, spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on gun equipment and ammo and training sessions and, you know, whatever, buying ammo up and just burning through it, training with your weapons, your firearms, which is great. I think that's great. But that's my point, is radio is way more difficult, whether you think so or not. This is way more complicated. Communications, I'm talking about, not just operating little press to talk FRS radio. Communications is way more difficult and way more convoluted, I guess, than learning how to shoot a gun properly. Because do you think somebody that's never shot a gun before or is never trained is going to go pick up your AR-15 or an AR-15 or some other battle rifle and know how to clear it if they get a jam, or failure to feed, or failure to eject, or the magazine is not, it's catching? I mean, how many times does that happen? You're resting your gun down on the table and you got a bad magazine or something and it doesn't feed properly because it's putting pressure up inside. Stuff like that. Or just to know, they don't even know what a forward assist is, or if you even should use it or when to use it. They don't know how to, shoot, trigger control or breathing techniques or whatever it may be in the firearm scenario, shooting. They don't know how. You think they're going to just be able to go grab a gun and go for it and be proficient? They're not going to know the first thing about it. That's just the truth. So some of you can really understand that, and some of you are probably shaking your head like it's not that big a deal or whatever. Well, if you really think back, if the first time you've ever shot a gun or tried to figure out how to use an AR-15 or something like that, or firearms in general, it was just foreign. It was just foreign until you started learning. And some people, it's taken many, many years, in fact, their whole lifetime, to become a expert marksman or proficient with your system, your firearm system, something like that. You know, it takes a long time. So someone that has never picked up a radio, or that doesn't know the difference between bands or frequencies, or how to put in codes, CTCS codes, CTCSS codes, or DCS codes, what the difference between HF and VHF, UHF, or even just radio, the concept of radio in general. Plus, these things are not the end all in emergency comms and SHTF comms. These are the minimum, the absolute minimum of what you should have and know. This is just, this is a little dual band, but a lot of people just have like a GMRS or a FRS, or, you know, they don't even know where to start. But just to say, I'm not going to get my license, I'm just going to grab one of these and, you know, screw the license thing. There's a lot to that statement. You're not going to do a damn thing is what you're going to do. And say your crew, all your buddies out there. You're out there in your unit or your group, whatever you want to say, and you got these little radios. Some of these radios are like this one's 5 watts. This little Wouxun here is 10 watts. That's 10 watts. Some of them are less. You might get, depending on where you're at, you might get a quarter mile in the woods communication with this. And somebody that is that you're trying to either fight or protect yourself, defend, somebody knows what, these are not private. There's no such thing as private comms. They can have the same setup you have. And a ham operator, this is 5 watts. A ham operator, an experienced ham operator, you can get amplifiers, and you don't even need an amplifier. You can just get a 50 watt mobile or a 100 watt station and key up your microphone, and your channel is done. You are now jammed. You are shut down. They can play a tone. They can do intermittent jamming. They can triangulate your location without you even knowing. Every time you push this little button, you give away your location. There is so much to communications. In fact, before you ever even like decide to go someplace with your guns, or to go make a maneuver or a decision to move someplace or to engage something or disengage or whatever, the most important thing that anybody should do is gain intelligence. And that's, communications is a huge part of that. Through scanners, receiving, HF receiving, you can receive all you want and nobody's going to hear you. But like I said, every time you transmit on these little radios or any radio, you give up your position, and they're easily jammed. One person with a mobile radio. So for example, this is kind of an example of getting interference. So we have a local GMRS group here where I live, and they have a repeater, and what was happening is they were getting interference on the input of the repeater. So GMRS radios are 5 watts. Mobiles you can do up to 50 watts, but a GMRS, this isn't GMRS, but a handheld, you can do 5 watts. Well, they were getting interference on the input of the repeater. And so what they did is they actually got together and tried to locate this interference. And so they had directional antennas. They had to somehow triangulate this interference. When it happened, it was intermittent, so that made it more difficult. But over time, or a period of days, they ended up finding the general location of this interference, where it was coming from. And they ended up figuring out over time that by narrowing it down with very fine-tuned equipment, one street that the interference was coming from. And so they ended up, it's kind of risky, I think. It's kind of bold, but you know, you had to do something because it was transmitting on an illegal frequency. It was interfering with true GMRS frequencies. And so they just went house to house and knocked politely and stuff. And one lady ended up calling the cops on them, and nothing ever came of it. But they found out the guy that, the house that was causing this interference, he had just purchased a intercom system from Amazon, a Chinese intercom system, and put it up. And what had happened is when he put it up and installed this thing, it was working inappropriately. But this is about the second or third time this has happened with those same intercom systems in our area. But what had happened is once he put it up and installed this thing, it would periodically send out a signal. Well, that's a low power intercom system, very low power, and that's all it took to interrupt communications from a low power GMRS HT. So it doesn't take much to get interference at all. Maybe some of you back in the CB days remember keying up over somebody, walking on somebody. It's what they call it, walking on somebody, causing interference. Multiple people transmitting at the same time can cause interference. It doesn't take much. It would render your entire system obsolete. But then what would you do if you had somebody jamming you? Would you know how to go triangulate and find the transmitter? Especially if it was mobile, a mobile transmitter and periodic transmissions. It could still disrupt everything that you're trying to do and put you out of commission. So there's a lot to it. So what I'm trying to address is it takes training, and it takes serious effort, time, research, money to purchase things, to learn about things. And to say that you're not going to get licensed and you're just going to do it when the time comes is just silly to me. And that's wrong thinking. And I would recommend not listening to that person. Maybe about something else, but not about comms. Comms is something that people need to train. And if you don't have time, you don't need a whole lot of time. You just start somewhere. Get a little, get a GMRS license. In fact, I just got one. Maybe some of you watching this channel know already that GMRS, as of what, April 19th, I think, has, the FCC has lowered the price for GMRS license down to $35. So you can go get one of those, and you and your immediate family can talk legally and use repeaters. GMRS is really cool setup. It's just a sliver of similar to 70 centimeters on ham radio. It's just a sliver. People say it's ham radio for dummies. It's not even close. What it is, it's a sliver. So GMRS is just above the 70 centimeter band in ham radio. So it is similar in one regard, just the tiniest little sliver of one band of amateur radio, and you're very limited what you can do. Becoming a ham operator, you open the doors wide open for experimenting, to learning, to building antennas, to all kinds of things. GMRS, you're very limited on stuff. So not saying everybody has to become a ham. I'm just saying GMRS is a good place to start. Might be a good gateway to ham radio and learning about comms, receiving capabilities. You're going to need scanners. You got to learn about scanners, VHF, UHF, law enforcement, government, military, shortwave stuff. I mean, communications is so vast. So just like other areas of prepping or being prepared, it takes work, and it's very time consuming. And, you know, in a community, yeah, maybe you can coordinate with a ham operator in your area. He can maybe, or she can get you up to speed a little bit quicker, navigate through all kinds of garbage, and then maybe you can also train them about the firearms thing, about training. I think everyone, personally, I think everyone needs to be kind of a jack of all trades or Jill of all trades, just because you don't know when somebody's going to be out of commission and you're going to have to step in and use that radio. Also, if it is just another example here real quick, I'm already at almost 19 minutes. In Ukraine right now, Zelensky ordered all amateur radio transmissions. He said it's a full stop. So all amateurs are not allowed to use their equipment right now. Some amateur radio operators are using WinLink, which is the email system over radio, and they're able to get some messages out. So it's basically you're able to send an email through a system called WinLink. And then there's also a system called Echolink that goes through the internet. If you don't know what those are two more areas of communication that you should learn. There's so much. There's digital modes. It's really a vast thing. And I know it's very intimidating. I'll go into some of it to try and help get people started, the newbies, to get you on the right path, to get you started somewhere. But my point in this video was to address people that say, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to do it when the time comes. That's asinine. It's wrong thinking. And the truth is, it's not reality. You need to train. If you're run and gun type stuff, or if you're firearms and you train a lot with that, this is more difficult and time consuming to learn and understand than guns. It's not an insult. I have experience in both areas, and I've been doing radio since I was 18 years old with CB radio. And man, there's so much to learn. You can get set up and learn quickly, especially if you have some sort of a mentor in radio. That's what I recommend. But get licensed, use it, get familiar with it, integrate it in your training, those kind of things. Some of you probably do, some of you don't, but I'm just saying the video that I saw had well over 60,000 views or more. I mean, it's just crazy how many people listen to this crap. So maybe that person knows a lot more on other preparedness kind of things, but as far as comms goes, that wasn't good information. And to say that you're just going to basically ignore it, you're going to buy everybody in your group a Belfang and think that's going to work, it's not going to do a damn thing. So another thing is about Ukraine. I forgot to say that with the shutdown as well, Russia has been jamming signals and tearing down towers. Not only your government will come in, maybe they're the ones that you're trying to resist, who knows, but they're going to come in and say all radio operations or communications are illegal at this point. And if you transmit, they can triangulate you as well. You will be found, or you could be found, I should say. And the enemy, or whoever that may be, could just jam your signals, like I referenced earlier. In a war scenario, could be another government, could be your own government. In a kind of a lesser SHTF scenario, it could be somebody with similar communications as you have. They could be listening, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of other ways to communicate that doesn't require radio transmissions. There's secret, clandestine ways to do stuff, but I'll talk about some things. But I just want you guys to think about this. Take the comms thing seriously. Don't disregard it. That's my whole point of this video. And no offense to anybody, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I think that we all need to learn all of it, right? We need to, whether it's a SHTF scenario or not, you need to learn how to defend yourself. You need to learn hand-to-hand combat if you can, at least some basics, survival stuff. I mean, you don't have to go crazy on things, but you do need to do something. So, in my opinion. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I hope that helps. And not trying to scare anybody or upset anybody here, but I just think that you got to take calm serious. And I do, and I still don't know it all. In fact, there's one more thing I want to say. This is how important it is. I listen to ham radio nets almost on a daily basis, and half of the people checking in to these nets sound like crap. They can't. They're trying to use a little Baofeng, or they're not making it to the repeater, holding the repeater. Their signal's broken, or they're using a Baofeng microphone that sounds like they're talking through the bottom of a tin can, and you know, it's all garbage. So that's half of the ham operators. Maybe not quite half, I exaggerate a little bit, but a good portion. And if you don't know how to set up a good station, you're not going to be successful. And so I'm going to try and help people with that too. I'm going to do more videos, and maybe try and do some intro videos on stuff like that. So, but yeah, if half the hams are doing it, if they're not successful, somebody that's never picked up a radio or even taken it serious isn't going to know how to program it. You got to program with software. You got to do all kinds of stuff. So unless you're just doing a straight up CB, you still got to install a CB. You got to match the antenna with the radio, SWRs and all that stuff. GMRS is underpowered. It works fine in a lot of ways, especially if you got a repeater. But just to think you're going to grab a GMRS and go for it, it's just not reality. It just isn't. So, anyhow, that's all I got for this one. I'm going to maybe do a little bit more down the road here. And thanks for watching, you guys, and 7.3, and good luck with that. And we'll get going on some intro videos. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.